Once upon a time, it was easy to tell the difference between a Disney and Pixar film just by looking. Disney films were hand-drawn, and Pixar was digital, and that was that. Well, sort of. But Disney hasn't made a film using hand-drawn animation since 2011. Disney broke tradition with films like Zootopia, and Pixar went into it to produce Brave. It's been common for people to think they were done by the opposite animation house. Having worked together since the 1990s, their similarities make sense. But since Disney acquired Pixar in 2006, lines have had more Gaussian blur added to them. So we're taking a look at how to tell the animated works of Disney and Pixar apart. Remember to hit that red button to subscribe and stay up to date with all of our great new content. Before we begin, can you guess the film from these emojis? Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out. Once upon a time, or wouldn't it be cool if? Legendary Disney animator Glenn Keane once said that the main differences between Disney and Pixar can be seen if you reduce both to a single phrase. Disney would be, once upon a time, and Pixar would be, wouldn't it be cool if? The man saved us a lot of time there. We're just gonna head on home and, what do you mean we've still got 9 more entries? Oh, right. Well, we'll stay just for you, but you better keep us company. Disney is all about retelling fairy tales and other old stories, making them sweeter and more magical. It's their classic formula, so much so that if someone mentions The Little Mermaid, we don't think of Hans Christian Andersen, we think of Disney. Disney puts us into older, more magical versions of our world, allowing us more believability and transporting us to literal once upon a times. Was it just us who believed that there used to be magic in the world thanks to Disney? I don't think so. Pixar's films are more about curiosity. If Disney retains magic within each frame, then Pixar retains a sense of wonder. The ideas behind the films, like monsters in closets, living toys, are all things that most kids have wondered about. And yes, it would be cool if. The art is different. The most obvious difference between Disney and Pixar is the art. The films look different. More recently, it's become harder to spot, with films like Zootopia making it even harder. But there was a time when you could tell by the type of animation they used. If it was hand-drawn, it was Disney. If it was CGI, it was Pixar. But then Disney had to go and confuse us by using CGI.
Right. I'm sorry, you lost me there.
Even with CGI, both retain different styles. Disney has updated its stylization of young women with heart-shaped faces and large eyes, and men with large chests and large noses.
They just can't get my nose right.
No, seriously, why does nobody talk about that? Pixar, on the other hand, are still pretty stylized and cartoonish, but they're also a bit more realistic. They focus more on things like textures, as can be seen by things like hair and flowing water. Everything within their films feels like it can breathe. The stylization of their characters tends to serve more of a purpose than Disney's do. Think about the characters in The Incredibles, especially Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl. Mr. Incredible has a large chin and a large chest, while Elastigirl has a narrow waist and wide hips. They're superhero proportions, an homage to the comic books which inspired it. Pixar builds bigger worlds. It's not just the art bringing Pixar's worlds to life. They build rich and complex worlds for their stories. They've managed to create stories which span the entire galaxy, taking place literally in space like WALL-E, or in somewhere as small and intimate as a child's bedroom in the Toy Story films. Even when the worlds are completely alien to us, Pixar has a knack for making us feel welcome in them. Disney also builds worlds, and their stories have been set worldwide and in all sorts of time periods. They give audiences a chance to sample whole new worlds, but we don't get to see a whole lot of these worlds. Generally, we get to see inside the castle and the forest, but not much beyond that. For the most part, their films are set in maybe 2 or 3 locations. This can make the world seem much smaller than those Pixar creates. They're able to make it so that a single bedroom can feel massive due to the scale and sense of adventure. They're able to make us feel like the toys and transform the room into an entire world. More recently, Disney looks set to follow in their footsteps as films like Moana and Zootopia build much larger and complex worlds than those before them. Pixar is more grounded in reality. Despite their films featuring some pretty outlandish things like talking fish, talking toys, and an entire world of monsters who come through kids' closets in order to scare them as fuel for their own world, Pixar has a pretty good grounding in reality. They produce films about real people and situations which we can all relate to. Even Toy Story felt realistic, and that is a film about talking toys. At its core, it's a film about friendship. When Buzz Lightyear comes along, Woody finds himself replaced by his best friend. Buzz and Woody are able to put their differences aside and end up becoming best best friends themselves. The process of making and losing friends is something most of us are familiar with. They also touch on growing up and outgrowing your toys in the third film. It was nostalgic and heartbreaking to those who saw the film as teenagers or adults, because it was a process we'd had to go through. We were Andy. Inside Out is set inside the head of an 11-year-old girl, personifying her emotions. It deals with the reality of emotional health, growing up, and change.
Oh, you caught us.
And shows us how our own minds work. It was so good at doing that, it's been used to teach kids about their emotions and mental illness. Disney is mainly fairy tales and old stories. Disney doesn't tend to do the realistic thing that's favored by Pixar. While they are by no means limited to just fairy tales, it's definitely their structure of choice. Many of their films are adaptations of old stories, like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and fairy tales, like The Little Mermaid. They're unbeatable when it comes to fairy tales. To most of us, fairy tales are familiar stories with familiar structures. They are some of the earliest stories many children read. This makes them perfect for family films because they're already loved and known. The three-part structure and the archetypal characters also make them perfect for Disney to graft their own ideas over. They have a particularly special affinity for princess movies, and these are generally some of their most popular. You can get pretty much any product with a Disney princess on it, from dolls to clothes. As of the summer of 2017, their Disney princess line totals 11 princesses. This doesn't even include Frozen's Anna and Elsa, who are currently being kept separate due to their popularity. It does, however, include Merida from Pixar's only princess film, Brave. Her inclusion only adds to the confusion between Disney and Pixar.
Bring back her heart in this.
Disney uses villains. Due to Disney's much older story template, their films almost always feature a villain. This is likely because older stories stuck to the idea that one evil entity is to blame for all the world's wrong, and hence all of the conflict in a person's life. It is what the villain does that drives the plot and causes all of the problems for the protagonist. Disney is about good versus evil. In Sleeping Beauty, none of the story would have even been possible if not for Maleficent. She curses Aurora and causes the events of the film, and as such in the end has to be defeated so good can triumph. It's only been in the past 5 years or so that they have really started to become a bit looser with this and follow Pixar's murkier morality. Pixar uses antagonists, but even then, they aren't the sole cause of conflict. Like in life, it's all circumstance. The antagonist just adds more drama to the film. As a result, there are no quick fixes by defeating the bad guy. The problems just have to be dealt with.
I just want you to know that even though you tried to terminate me, revenge is not an idea we promote on my planet.
In Toy Story, the main problem is the conflict between Buzz and Woody and how they chose to deal with it. Sid was just there to up the stakes.
We have steak, pasta. What are you hungry for?
Tony Ridinger.
Shut up.
Well, you are.
That's it.
Pixar's characters are more relatable. Pixar's realness can also be felt in their characters. They go through real situations, but they also act in the way real people might act.
This is about Dash.
You want to do something for Dash? Then let him actually compete. Let him go out for sports.
I will not be made the enemy here.
They face tough decisions and situations, none of which seem outlandish, and they respond to them in perfectly normal ways. The director of Finding Nemo, Andrew Stratton, confessed that he had based Marlin on himself, because raising a child is tough work. The traditional pitfalls of parenting are presented as ocean reefs and parties with sharks, and many parents can relate to the sheer panic and protectiveness that Marlin has over Nemo. Like most of the parents watching the film with their own kids, he would literally go to the end of the earth for him. They really capture the reality of the human experience in their films, and are great at presenting loss whilst making us really care about it. The first few minutes of Finding Nemo establishes the loss of Marlin's wife and all but one of his children being eaten, and it hits at our own fears and the reality of losing loved ones. This kind of thing is rarely seen in Disney films except for more recent ones. Moana's feelings towards the loss of her grandmother and her desire to go out into the world to find who she really is are relatable to most audience members. Disney doesn't really make sequels anymore. It used to be that you couldn't swing a cat around without hitting a new Disney sequel. It was especially painful for parents who found they had to hide them in the attic so they never got to see the light of day again. The films, not the kids. That would be illegal. From 1994 to 2008, Disney released at least one sequel to a classic a year, and 2005 had 5 sequel releases. Since then, Disney has produced a handful of shorts and made-for-TV movies which could be called sequels, like Tangled Before Ever After, which is the pilot for Tangled the series. But the only official sequels they've made since then are in the Tinker Bell film series. That being said, Disney's currently working on a sequel to 2013's Frozen, so that looks set to change. In that time, Pixar have put out a number of sequels. Most of them were far more successful than any of Disney's, with Cars 2 being the first to receive a bad review. Both Toy Story sequels were consistently well received by fans and critics alike, and it looks like Pixar is keen to continue with the sequels, having released Finding Dory and Cars 3 recently, and the long-awaited The Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4 in the next few years. Leave the singing to Disney. Music is a serious part of filmmaking, and both Disney and Pixar know it well. It's vital for mood, atmosphere, character development, and storytelling. Pixar is well known for the beautiful compositions which accompany their films. Their work has been scored by everything from pop to orchestras. They capture the mood of the film and each individual scene perfectly. Do you know what they don't tend to do? Sing. They leave that part to Disney. The majority of Disney's classic movies are musicals, and they have put out countless hits. Most of the songs are now so iconic that everybody knows them. Most of them often by heart, and they make for a really good time on the karaoke machine, not to mention a sing-along with each repeat watching. We can't get enough of them. The songs are essential to the storytelling, giving us key parts of the story and character development. Take I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan as an example here. As the song goes on, we watch as Shang actually manages to do just that, as Mulan and the rest of the Chinese army get stronger and better. And you know what? We kind of feel like he made a man out of us too. Now, on to defeat the Huns.
Look, I'm Picasso.
I don't get it.
You uncultured swine.
Comedy. Okay, so we aren't exactly defeating the Huns here, but in this entry, we're going to look at something that Disney and Pixar actually share: a sense of humor.
You married Elastigirl and got busy!
Both of these companies have a knack for getting laughs out of the audience, and they both have a particularly special knack for adult humor.
Didn't your parents ever warn you about strangers?
Yes, they did.
We all know Disney films are family films, and many a staff member at Pixar has said that the movies they make are just as much adult films as they are for kids. Every Disney and Pixar film from the Disney Renaissance onwards has been laced with adult jokes, which have left adults laughing while kids sit there completely and utterly oblivious to it. Did you notice Buzz's first reaction to Jessie when you were a kid? No, we didn't either. Disney are also good at what they do. The long-forgotten masterpiece that is Hercules is a pretty good example of this.
Fabulous party. You know, I haven't seen this much love in a room since Narcissus discovered himself.
While it refers to him falling in love with his reflection in the myth, it also means a few other things, if you catch our drift. Well, dang, Disney. Woo! Haha, Will Smith, Wild Wild West.
Yes, very funny, very funny.
And that's all we have time for today. Let us know in the comments section below what you think about Disney and Pixar, and what you think about their differences and similarities. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more great content. Oh, and before we forget, here's the answer to the emoji quiz. Did you get it? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.